Tonight, our special transmission as an injunction by an Ontario court allows the University of Toronto to remove pro-Palestinian encampments. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Aisha Ashraf. Today is the 272nd day since the onset of Israel's war. In a series of devastating attacks today, Israeli bombings have killed at least 26 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The casualties include 9 members of a single family in Khan Yunis. The family had relocated to a designated safe zone following Israeli evacuation orders. 7 bodies have been recovered in Rafah's Tel el-Sultan neighborhood. 5 of them are charred beyond recognition. The Palestinian news agency reports 2 women have been killed in a refugee camp in central Gaza after an apartment bombing. The Israeli army says it has targeted 50 sites associated with Palestinian resistance in the Shuja'iyya neighborhood. The attacks have displaced around 85,000 residents. A World Health Organization official says 3 patients remain in the European hospital in Khan Yunis. Hundreds have fled following the evacuation orders. He is urging for the hospital to be spared from further attacks. In the occupied West Bank, an Israeli air raid on the Nur Shams refugee camp has killed 4 people. In northern Israel, a suspected stabbing attack in Carmiel has resulted in 3 injuries and the death of the alleged attacker. The death toll from Israel's war continues to rise. At the time of writing, at least 37,925 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli attacks. A revised report by the United Nations estimates another 10,000 civilians are trapped under the rubble. 87,141 Palestinians have been injured. Israel's death toll from Hamas's attack stands at 1,139. Israel is accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice. The court has ordered an immediate halt to military operations in Rafah. The United Nations is condemning Israel's recent order for Palestinians to evacuate parts of Khan Yunis and Rafah in Gaza. This directive is affecting about a third of Gaza's population. It marks the largest evacuation since October last year. Last year, 1.1 million people were displaced in the north of the enclave. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says the evacuation order impacts around 250,000 civilians. Dujarric warns a mass evacuation will intensify civilian suffering and increase humanitarian needs. A former U.S. military intelligence analyst says Israel faces the risk of a devastating war with Hezbollah in Lebanon, driven by political motives. Harrison Mann has recently resigned over U.S. support for Israel's actions. He is cautioning that such a war could result in extensive civilian casualties in Lebanon and Israel. U.S. officials privately doubt Israel seeks actual war with Hezbollah. Mann says Prime Minister Netanyahu is politically vulnerable. Mann says Netanyahu's rhetoric is to maintain wartime leadership amid corruption charges. He, however, says Israel's strategy is risky. Mann says continued airstrikes and a ground offensive could escalate regional tensions and draw in U.S. troops. Mann says Hezbollah has the potential to retaliate massively. He says any such retaliation could challenge Israel's military capabilities and escalate tensions with Iran. Israel's announcement to legalize 5 unauthorized Jewish settlements in the West Bank has sparked international condemnation. The move is spearheaded by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. It aims to formalize settlements deemed illegal under international law. Officials from the Palestinian Authority, European Union, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia are criticizing the move. Despite the backlash, Israel plans to integrate these settlements into its infrastructure. European Union spokesperson Peter Stano denounces the move as detrimental to peace efforts and a violation of international law. Smotrich is a far-right politician and a staunch advocate for settlement expansion. He views the new settlements as a way of securing Israel's presence in the West Bank. Israel has expanded settlements in the occupied West Bank over decades, despite signing a series of peace agreements with the Palestinians in the 1990s. All these settlements are considered illegal under international law and by much of the international community. Israeli settlers near Jericho, West Bank, have contaminated the Al Auja spring by dumping waste into it. Al-Bader, an organization defending Bedouin rights, says the action aims to deprive local Palestinians of clean drinking water. An official from the organization says there is fear of immediate health risks and long-term environmental damage. He describes the move as a violation of international law. Al-Auja villagers are facing demolitions and persecution. They lack basic services due to their location in Area C under Israeli control since 1967. A new bill proposed by Republican lawmakers aims to compel U.S. universities receiving federal funds to disclose their plans for managing Gaza solidarity protests on campuses. The bill is spearheaded by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and Congressman Jim Banks. The legislation seeks amendments to the Higher Education Act of 1965. It mandates universities to outline responses to civil disturbances on campuses, including pro-Palestinian protests. Republicans have also criticized university leaders for allegedly tolerating anti-Semitism during these protests. This comes after Republicans bash university authorities for not taking appropriate steps to dismantle the encampments in a congressional hearing in December. Following the hearings, the president of the University of Pennsylvania, Liz McGill, resigned from her post. The next month in January, Harvard president Claudine Gay also resigned. Critics view the bill as a crackdown on free Palestinian activism. They say police interventions at Columbia University and other campuses is an infringement of the right of free speech. An Ontario court has granted the University of Toronto an injunction to clear a free Palestinian sit-in from King's College Circle. Demonstrators who have been protesting peacefully have been asked to dismantle tents. Toronto police are authorized to arrest non-compliant individuals. The court ruling allows for continued demonstrations. However, it prohibits sit-ins and certain protest activities during late hours. Following the ruling, University President Mayor Gertler says the university is committed to free expression. Jewish groups and human rights organizations have expressed varying reactions to the decision. A demonstrator and a master's student at the university says the movement will continue until Palestine is free. Mohammed Yassin, a protest organizer, says the injunction changes nothing about the injustice which the students are fighting. Amnesty International Canada and the Canadian Lawyers for International Human Rights have jointly intervened in the hearing. In a statement, the groups call the injunction a setback to the right of peaceful assembly. The National Council of Canadian Muslims has also intervened in the case. The advocacy group argues the university has used Islamophobic and anti-Palestinian stereotypes when portraying the protesters as hateful and dangerous. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a nonprofit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.